So Will Levis did fall into the draft to the second round to the Tennessee Titans. On this platform, on this show, I came out and said that he was telling teams and he was scaring teams. Look, I mean, my sources came to fruition on that one. I think Tennessee's the best place for him. What do you think about Will Levis falling to Tennessee?
Yeah, I really agreed with you, and I also certainly believed what you said because he comes off as one of those guys that is way too intense. And some teams get excited about that. Some teams are going to say like, wow, this kid is going to really change stuff for us because he's got the mentality. But another guy who was way too cocky was Josh Rosen. Baker Mayfield was way too cocky. NFL teams want a humble quarterback. They don't want a guy that's
so was Tom Brady. So was Peyton Manning. We have two stories. Yeah. We have Tom Brady telling Robert Kraft, okay, that I'm the best thing that you've ever done for this franchise. And then Tony Dungy, I mean, not Tony Dungy, Polian, old Polian, not the one that's at LSU. Polian said when they met with Peyton Manning that when they left, he told them, if you take Ryan Leaf over me, I will make your life a living hell for the rest of your life. Let's not act.
Okay, that's fair, but okay. I think a lot of times if you're too intense in these meetings, it rubs teams the wrong way. If there are massive question marks for other aspects of your game, and for Will Levis, I know that you've said that you're higher on him than I am. The issues with Will Levis and why I had him projected as a day 2 or would have drafted him as a day 2 pick. I thought he was going to go earlier. He did not. But the reason why he's a day 2 pick on film, massive arm, the biggest arm in the class, good athlete, moves well. His decision-making is abysmal. And he's played as a starter for 2 years. To watch him on film with some of these throws, some of these picks he's thrown, it's really head-scratching. It's not like a circumstance of where you can see a guy on film and be like, okay, I get that mistake. He's going to correct it. It's something that's fixable. He makes a lot of mistakes where it's like, dude, what are you thinking through here? And somebody who doesn't have that natural processing, that natural feel for the game, there's a legitimate concern because things get faster and more complicated in the NFL the minute you step into it. I will say, though, this does set him up for his best possible situation. I thought he was going to be a bust, but this is probably the most bust-proof situation for him to step into. Because this is the Kentucky of the NFL in a way, where they run the ball really effectively. They do a lot of play action.
And they got Tajay Spears. I mean, they're adding to their run game as an example.
Exactly. His best year, the year prior to the year he came out, they had a better offensive line and a better run game. He's stepping into a spot where he doesn't need to do everything. He doesn't need to start right away. And then he can move, expand the pocket, throw on the run, use that big arm to hit guys deep downfield. Treylon Burks is a great athlete. He can connect with him. It's a good spot for him. I can't complain. I think that he lucked out.
This is what – so, look, I agree with you on the round that he goes to. I agree with you on the team. I just don't think he's as bad as some people think that he is. Okay, let me give an example. The Emmanuel Forbes screen pass pick 6. That's not on him. It's not on him. It's a play call. Okay? Emmanuel Forbes made a good play.
Okay.
I think it was against Ole Miss or I forget the team. Of like 35 dropbacks that he had, he was under pressure or got hit 28 of the 35 times. I'm just throwing the number out there, but I listened to the stat yesterday. Joe, he broke his finger, and his finger on his non-throwing hand literally was pointing this way, right? Yeah. Like it was pointed sideways.
Against Ole Miss.
Against Ole Miss. They put – I'm pretty sure it was Ole Miss. They put it back in place. He kept him in there. He's a tough kid. I agree with you. He can be a little much. I think that here's where what I have heard about him is that teams believe that he was overcompensating himself because people had put down on him so much. And I get that and understand that. He's a really good play action passer. And so quarterbacks are going to be better with better offensive line and running game. Every quarterback gets better with a good running game and better offensive line.
Yeah.
His offensive line last season, as an example, was horrendous. I could make the argument they went from one of the better offensive lines in the league to one of the worst.
They had 2 draft picks the year prior.
Right. He got hit and hit and hit and hit. Look, he took a lot of punishment. And you know what he did? He continued to get up. That kid's got heart. And when you have that many traits, as you like to say, I'm okay with you taking a second round flyer on the guy, right? Like, I'm okay with you taking a second round pick.
Exactly.
I also had the same thought process on Anthony Richardson as an example, okay? I know that Anthony has more traits, and I get, like, I don't care that he goes to Indianapolis. Like, good for him. I'm good with that. But Will Levis, for everything that he has been criticized on, look, man, you know what the number one thing about leadership is for me on a football field is when a guy gets hurt and he comes back the way that Will Levis does, I will play for that dude.
All right.
I will play for, I will give
I agree with
everything
that.
I will give everything that I have when your finger is about to literally rip off. And then you come back against Ole Miss and throw a touchdown pass in excruciating pain. I will fight for that guy. Here's the problem I have with him.
Okay.
Can he just be calm? Can he learn? Can he sit there and just learn and understand what he needs to do? I think Mike Vrabel can get the best out of him. I really do. Now, I don't trust Tennessee in reference to molding quarterbacks because Malik Willis was Rudy Poo. But I'm going to rip on you draft guys in a minute about Malik Willis. You all were idiots. I tried to tell you were idiots. You didn't listen to him. Oh, he was a Liberty with Hugh Freeze.
We're not all idiots. That was very largely projection. That was extremely largely projection. And some guys don't hit. It was a massive risk, and it didn't make a lot of sense. There was the reason why he was projected as early as he was because it was a year where there was no quarterback talent. None. Kenny Pickett wasn't even a guarantee to go in the first round. He went very late in the first round. And when there's no talent, teams reach. And we thought the teams were going to be reaching. But as we've discovered this year, I think a lot more teams are careful about that. And they're unwilling to do that. They're unwilling to go up and take a guy if they're not confident in him in the first round. They'll wait until day 2. That's the reason for the whole Malik Willis thing. We're not all idiots. Oh, screw you.
Yeah, you are. I'm not a hater on Will Levis. I've seen Will Levis take shots and run. I think he's athletic. If you can cut down on some of the bad decisions that he makes, he can be a really good quarterback. The problem that people have is that he made bad decisions, right? Like, that's the big thing on him. He threw a lot of interceptions. You know who else threw a lot of interceptions the year that he came out?
Oh.
Deshaun Watson. I'm old enough to remember that Deshaun Watson had a season when he won the national championship and he threw for like 18 interceptions. 18. Now, I don't want to talk about everything with him off the field and him at Cleveland, but you know what he was with the Texans. He made some really good decisions. You know who else had a lot of interceptions his first year in the league?
Don't say Peyton Manning.
Buddy, he threw like 2,900 of them.
He's not Peyton Manning, though.
You know who else was a bad decision maker coming out?
Who?
Brett Favre. Now, what's interesting is Brett Favre was taking this almost the same exact spot, if I'm not mistaken, in the draft that Will Levis was. The same pick. Drew Brees. As much as I love him, and I know a height was a thing, my man threw some picks. Okay? If his decision-making can get better, I'm not completely out on him yet.
Here's my reason why, though. I'm not. I have a lot of pause to believe that Will Levis's decision-making can improve. Because there's a lot of times when you see
much worse.
Right. There's a lot of times when you see guys on film, quarterbacks, and you try to make sense of, okay, why does this guy throw interceptions? Why does he set his receivers up poorly? Why does he not know what to do and make the right decision from time to time and make bad decisions? Usually you can make sense of it. I've talked about this with Anthony Richardson, that it's clearly because he's green. He's clearly letting the game get too fast for him and things are moving way too quick, and he needs to learn how to compose himself. I legitimately think that Will Levis just it's not going on very.
Last year was subpar in play calling too. Now
it was, but I just don't think there's a lot going on up there. I know that that's like a really mean statement to make, but like I just don't think that he can think quickly enough and effectively enough. I think he just sees an open receiver, he just throws the football. I don't think he thinks things through at all, which is really, really scary. And those guys you named.
Go ahead. Sorry,
I was just gonna say those guys you named might be good examples. I think Brett Favre is the best example, but I don't know about the other ones though. Like I think that those guys at least shows
The,
positive ability where they were just trying to do too much, which led to those interceptions.
the one thing for me is I go back to that Georgia game 2 years ago, and he was leading them down the field and scoring. Very productive, very efficient. When he had help, he did better. And when he didn't have help, he didn't. Okay. I mean, Joe, that's for every quarterback in the league.
It's fair. I mean, his physical
I will tell you,
I've
said this before off air. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I had a defensive coordinator in the SEC tell me last year that Kentucky might be the worst offensive play call team in the country. Like they fully believe that. So if that's the case,